What's going on, my friends? I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we are looking at Gamma World, the science fantasy role-playing game. This is the oldest personal game I own. This is the very first book I purchased, the very first game I purchased. My friend's brother had the basic D&D, the white set stuff, and then he got the red book set, and we were being introduced to that in elementary school when we would sneak home on Wednesday for an hour, borrow his stuff, and then do what we could do. And it was from the back of one of his books that, and I believe it was in the red box set, that I saw the ad for Gamma World. And while I have been a sword and sorcery hack and slash role playing game enthusiast since I was probably 10, 12 years old. I can't give the exact year, but it was a long time ago. I've always been at heart, deep down, a sci-fi fanatic first. Science fiction was always been my first love when it comes to anything, to be truthful. And the so this was the first ones I saw that was available, and I used my lawn mowing money at the time to order through the catalog. I wrote down the address and stuff and ordered it from the catalog, and this would have been the 1981 version of this. So this is not the actual very first print. It was first published in 1978, and 81. Geez, I would have been no. This is the 78 version. No, it has to be. It's the third printing of 1981. So I bought this in 1981. So how old was I when I bought this damn thing? It was before I got my driver's license. So let's see. I was going on 14, 13 going on 14 when I purchased this thing. And the fact it's aged well. My understanding is that there's a newer version out there, and that I know there was a second edition that came out, but I never quite got into it. And as post-apocalyptic game settings go, this one is kind of out there a little bit. And once we started seeing things like Mad Max and Beyond Thunderdome and things like that, my idea of post-apocalyptic game settings changed radically. And I'm sorry about the glow. I got a window open over here. We have gray and white mama sitting over here off to my left. I don't want to dismantle the camera to show her, but she she's one of the strays we've been feeding for the last couple of years, and she's a bit of a special needs cat. Her tongue hangs out, and I think some of her teeth on one side of her face are missing, and she just, I don't know. A couple weeks ago, she was out in the garage and got in with the other cats that the wife's been harboring in the garage all winter, and the temperatures dipped down into below, the negative digits for a couple days. And she took the cold real hard. And I don't know how old she is or what other things she's got going on, but she really, really struggled with it. And she hadn't come down to eat like 3-4 days. So the wife got really concerned. So I climbed up into the loft of the garage to go look for her, and I found her, and she was very lethargic. She wouldn't let me touch her, though, because she'd get up and move further back into the top of the attic of the house, and I didn't want to chase her all the way back and terrorize her. And so every day I would go up there and check on her. We'd try to bring her food and water, and she wouldn't eat. Then she came down, and she was up on one of the rafters when my wife come running into the house, and I went out and looked at her. And because she's missing teeth, she slobbers a lot, and her slobber had frozen. Her face was her mouth was frozen shut, and she wouldn't let me get her, and she went back up in the loft. I went to work, and then later that day I came home, and the wife said she had got her, and she's now in the art room. She's been in the art room for a couple weeks now. She's regained her appetite. We did everything we could to encourage it. We had to go get some special food, things like that, to try to entice her to eat. And once she started getting her strength back, she's recovering. She's a bit feisty because she is a feral cat, and she's not used to being around people all that much, although she is allowing my wife to handle her, pick her up, and hold her, and things like that, which, of course, my wife feeds these cats 3 times a day and deals with them, so that's not to be surprised. Anyhow, I'm hoping we get some more weight on her, and then we'll get her out to the trap neuter release program, the ARL, get her fixed and get her shots, and hopefully they won't want to put her down because of her disabilities. And then we're going to bring her back and just leave her in the damn house and add her to yet another house cat, because she's not going to survive outside, not too much longer, especially in this when this cold goes and comes and goes. It's really hard on these older cats. And she's sitting there watching me talking. Yes, your tongue hanging out, drool dripping off of it. But you're much cleaner now. Yes, you are. Her face is clean. She's been cleaning herself, she was really nasty, filthy when she came down out of the garage, out of the attic. So that's always an encouraging sign, right? Anyway, so looking at Gamma World, the box set is of course long gone. Like I've said, I did a when I was younger, boxes were just a vehicle that the stuff came in. I didn't really think about saving the boxes until later years, because of the completeness of the idea of them stuff. So this is the original character sheet that came in Gamma World, the book, and as you can see, I removed it so I could make Xerox copies at the time. And it also came with this map of the continental United States and all of its post Third World glory. And what I did to it, a lot of people would throw a fit, but it had no city place names at all. We didn't know. It had the little markings, so there's a little marking of where a city or the ruins of a city ought to be, and there's a few here and a few there, and so I went around and I tried to figure out using a real map to what was where. So this is roughly near Dayton, Ohio, for example, and then if you go down here, Tampa, Florida is well submerged. Jacksonville, Daytona, Orlando, Panama City, Savannah, Charleston, Portsmouth. I never quite got up here to New York for some reason. Houston, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Palm Beach, Miami's way down here in the corner. As you can see that the water has flooded portions of the world. Even back then they had that idea. So this was to allow my friends and I to have place names to go and explore and do gaming settings. And as for science fiction, I mean, the post-apocalyptic scenarios that plays out in this game is quite different from a lot of post-apocalyptic game systems. And I'm not folding that right. I don't want to just smash it back down. So how did I have that folded? Is it folded like that? There we go. That's better. It's going to go back in the book itself. And so you run into some pretty exotic material and stuff, and the technology level of the world was much higher than it is currently, because we have things like plasma weapons and laser weapons and other items in here that you can scavenge and find, including robots and things like this that are autonomous. So there was this kind of futuristic setting. Here's Borgs, cargo lifters using chemical batteries, heavy cargo lifters, sensor controls, instruction, healing body damage, relatives, languages, trade and value and commerce, main building computers, hall monitors, standard devices, units and material, ID devices, solar cells, chemical energy cells, hydrogen energy cells, atomic energy cells, energy cell charger, medical supplies, miscellaneous devices like portents, energy cloaks, medikits, control batons, vehicles, civilian internal combustion, military alcohol combustion, turbine cars, hover cars, flit cars, flying cars, environmental cars, bubble cars, offensive armor, powered scout armor, powered battle armor, powered attack armor, powered alloy plate, sheath armor, powered plate, various types of armor for your people. Here's a concept for doing hacking and slashing and other things of trying to see artifact use and operations, Condition of artifact, obviously broken to perfect. So, and it's starting, the pages are starting to come loose. Considering this is 45 years old, no, 42, 43 years old, it's damn good shape considering. And I played, my friends and I played this a lot. We alternated between Dungeons and Dragons and this for a couple of years, and then when by the time I got turned 16 in '83 and got my driver's license, then we were able to go to the game store much more often to buy more material, and we expanded because it was in roughly in '83 that I started buying. I bought my Judges Guild material and started buying when West End Games came out. I don't know the exact year that the Star Wars came out. That was huge. And by the time we started gravitating away from those games to the next level of stuff, this one here sat on my shelf more and more. And so it's been a long time since I played this game. And you have everything from plants and vegetable mutations and people mutations, and some of them are quite exotic, as you can see, and it's something else. See the creatures, so androids, arcs, arns, burlaps. Here's a burlap is a large 2-meter across free-floating aquatic plant which grows akin to a lily pad as an enormous sheet on the surface of the water. A sweet-smelling acid extruded by a plant attracts the kill, then dissolves small animals. So a giant Venus flytrap, all a lily pad. So fins, fleshings, crustaceans, grens. Grens appear to be completely normal, pure-strain humans except for their deep green skin. They are intelligent, live secluded lives in harmony in nature. They inhabit only deep forests where they cannot be seen or sensed by any creature until they reveal themselves. They will not use ancient technology and stubbornly refuse to learn any of the knowledge of the ancients. Most tribes shun outsiders, although in some instances, 30% chance, Grens may cooperate with pure-strain humans if approached in a non-hostile manner. So, right, various interesting stuff and things to deal with. Then we got cryptic alliances, the Brotherhood of Thought, Seekers, Knights of Genetic Purity, Friends of Entropy, the Iron Society, Supremus, Healers, Restoranists, the Followers of the Voice, Ranks of the Fit, the Archivists, the Radioactives, the Created. So we got hazards, poison, radiation. Then we're back to artifacts and equipment. So, pistol, rifle, other energy weapon, grenade, bomber, missile, armor vehicle, miscellaneous energy device, robotic unit, and medical equipment. So look at some of the pistols: slug throwers, needlers, stun ray, laser pistol, Mark V blaster, black ray gun, rifle, stun rifle, laser rifle, Mark VII rifle, infusion rifle, and so on down the road. So there's something to be said that most game systems have a lot of commonality. And I've heard arguments about this, that you got to be careful about plagiarism or borrowing. So if you're creating your own game, for example, you got to be cautious how this is worked on, and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's even a form of mecha in this game. I mean, and this predates BattleTech and big stompy robots. I'm just saying. So the fact of it is, this is a really, really good starter system game. I haven't played it long, and so long, I can't tell you the exact mechanics of how we play it, and I didn't spend the time to go back and reread and study the whole thing like I do on some things. So, I mean, I just wanted to share it, and this is definitely a real gem for me, and it's more nostalgia now than anything else. I don't know, that there might come a time where I might try to play another game someday down the road. Once again, I know that there's newer versions of this game out there, and they have their advantages and disadvantages as much as any game system. I haven't looked. I glanced at them once at a game store, but I never bought them. And I think you have to go back 20 years to the second edition version. And I don't know who's producing them, if anybody. This is a TSR product, so this was produced by the Dungeons and Dragons people back in the day, which is why I was able to see it in a catalog or the back of a Dungeons first edition the Red Book edition box set that my friend's brother had, and I don't remember if it was. I think there was an insert with game supplement stuff, and I had written down the address to TSR, and I wrote to TSR to get a catalog, and then they sent it to me. This is how you bought things back in the day. If you couldn't go to a game store You had to find a bookstore or a game store that sold the game material, and that was not that common. You weren't going to go to, the back in those days, Kmart or Target. That was before Walmart was around, and find these in their book selection, because that's not how they were sold. And so you had to have a dedicated comic book store or a game store. And in that era, game stores were fairly new. I mean, they weren't a novelty thing. They were growing, but games stores that devoted themselves to role playing games and tabletop war games were few and far in between. In all of Iowa, I think at the time there was only maybe three in the late 70s, early 80s. Now there's still not as many, but there's several game stores in town that sell the material, and of course the internet. The internet changed everything on so many levels. Sometimes I still boggle at it, because when I was a young man, the internet was not a thing until I didn't even pay attention to anything at the internet until the late 80s. So I mean, and things were changing at that point. And so now you just go to the website. You can get PDF versions. You can probably find a PDF version of this out there somewhere. So my rights. I wish I could. That damn curtain. I don't want to disrupt Mama, and I don't want her to attack my arm neither. It's oh Mama. There we go. I know we wanted some sun. We wanted some sun. Okay. So I know. So by rights, Catalyst Game Labs, or at least their parent company, or no, I'm sorry, Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast, or at least their parent company, Hasbro, has the rights to this stuff, unless they got sold off at some point. I don't know. I mean, so TSR produced it, and then they produced another version. And is there a current version? I haven't Googled it and checked, so, anyway. This is a great game. And if you ever get a chance to pick up a copy of it, or a later variant of it, or and now I'm struggling for the. I know that PDF version of the damn thing. Go ahead and get it, because it's worth at least reading, because it gives you a bit of an insight to where we came from, where this hobby that we all love and share, regardless of what particular system or genre you prefer, what your attraction to the game hobby is. The facts are they're all interconnected. They all share a lot of common roots and common beginnings. And it's, for me, if you want to go from a armchair historian, armchair dumbass who just wants to know a lot of nuts and bolts about stuff. It's a really good deep dive, or even a shallow dive, I guess, depending on how you want to look into the history and the back of the game systems that were what us older players began with. And it's from these things that inspired the creation of yet newer, broader, bigger, better, bolder. It's the truth. It's just like video games. Most video games, whether the creators today want to acknowledge it or not, owe a lot to the tabletop stuff. Because the tabletop stuff, the pen and paper versions, came before the video games. We didn't have computers in the 70s, and even the early 80s. If your family was pretty well off, or you had some very deep, really good parents, you might have had yourself an Atari or a Nintendo, but you didn't have the luxury. And then until the Commodore started coming out, my buddy got one of those. But once again, it was the very late 80s, early 90s. 90, no, actually, I think it was 91, 90 when I got my first computer. Just saying. So, until next time, this is Rick, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in the gaming industry or gaming fandom that says, hey, this is a channel worth checking out, right? Until next time, I hope you guys have yourself